those in. So why don't we get started for the WPCA meeting? Jennifer, are we ready to go?
I am.
Okay, so we're calling the WPCA meeting for the town of Old Lyme today, May 12th, 7:30 p.m. We're starting actually 7:34. We have a meeting planned tonight that has the typical agenda. I'm just going to go through the agenda real quick as a change from last time. Call to order, approval of minutes, budget update, business of Soundview sewer project. Then there's a couple sub bullets, correspondence, an executive session, new business, and adjournment. We are not having a public comment session this time. We didn't have it last time. We hope to have them in the future. We're still sorting out this remote technology, at least I am. This is Rich Prendergast speaking, by the way, the chairman. Do value the public's comment. You can always send emails directly to my email at the town or Jennifer Datum. It's on the town website. We do try to respond to all the emails that we get. We do consider the public comment. So in the future, we will provide a way for the public to comment. It's just, it's taking a little bit of time. And I'd also like to say, it's a little stressful on my end, and I don't know if the other committee members feel it the same way, because we've got tough issues to talk about, and we are doing this remotely, which is a little different from us, and some of us are more or less used to this type of thing. Anyways, that's my opening comment. I'm going to do a quick roll call, and well, Jennifer, you've identified that Frank is here from the WPCA, Doug is here, Jim, Rob, Joe, and Steve. Is anyone else from the WPCA that is here that I'm not familiar with? I don't hear anything. Okay. We also have Tim Griswold, the first selectman, and Mary Jo Noswell, the selectman. So at this point, I'd like to switch to approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion from a WPCA member and then a second from another member to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it, Doug.
Okay. So now, an open discussion. Are there any adjustments to the meeting minutes? Questions, concerns? Okay. Hearing none. All those WPCA members in favor of this, I'm going to poll you. Doug, are you in favor?
Yes.
Say aye.
Aye.
James, are you in favor?
Aye.
Joe, are you in favor?
Aye.
Frank, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Steve, are you in favor?
I abstain.
Thank you. Motion carried. The minutes were so approved. Going on to the next item is the budget update and expenses. So this I'm going to hand over to Doug for commentary on it. And I think we'll just have a commentary on where we are with the budget amount. There's a related issue to the finance that we'll cover under the Soundview business under the Clean Water Funds application. I think we'll talk about that, Doug. You know what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that later.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay, so budget statement for the month, we had only one charge. We paid Jennifer again. We always try to keep up with that. There were no other, to my knowledge, there were no other charges during the month. To my knowledge, we didn't have any additional invoices. So we are, you know, as normal, our budget is in great shape, as we will discuss during the Clean Water Fund application. We'll be using some of the budget as we go forward with where we are with the private beaches, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So basically, I got a non-report again because we really haven't spent any money. So does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, I will say thank you, and that's my report.
Thank you, Doug. So now we're moving on to item 4, the business, which is Soundview Sewer Project Miscellaneous Area B, review of the sewer ordinance gap and state requirements. At this time, I'd ask Frank to give us an update on the progress he did and open a discussion about what actions we need to take. If you're ready, Frank, go ahead.
Yes, I am. Yes, this is regarding the updating the current WPCA regulations and bylaws. After reviewing the suggested changes by the DEP to add the municipal water wastewater management section, I think it makes a lot more sense to separate out the bylaws and the regulations. So I have just pulled out all the bylaws related items from the current document and put it into a document called draft bylaws. So it's ready for review. What I'm asking for is 1 or 2 of the members will take a look at it and compare that with the old document. I added some items which are indicated. So in terms of just to clarify the bylaws, I would appreciate some help in reviewing it, since I look at it, it looks perfect to me. So I'm sure there are things that could be improved. As for the regulations, the municipal water wastewater management regulations pretty standard. Just requires a little bit of customization to fit the town of Old for our area of interest. And the on-site disposal system does existing ordinance, and that could be streamlined quite a bit too. There are actually quite a bit of repeated paragraphs. So that would take me another week to put out a draft copy, and when that is done, I would also ask maybe another person or 2 to review that and compare that with the old one. That's all I have.
So thank you, Frank. So does any WPCA member on the current call want to review the document? I think the document right now is like 60 pages, and it's going to be a lot less after Frank's done with it, because there's, I think, ways to make it better.
Yeah. Rich, Frank here. Yeah, the current document, 60 pages, but a whole bunch of pages are just housing ordinance, which doesn't belong to us, and the health department ordinance, which doesn't belong to us. So those will be stripped out. So the actual text for the bylaws only 6 pages. The regulations, I expect that to be no more than 20 pages total.
That's a huge improvement, Frank. So if I'm hearing no volunteers, I think Dimitri wants to do it. So he's not in the meeting now. We'll ask him, and I'll review it if no one else does. And eventually,
this is Steve. I'll review it.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. I'll send the draft bylaw and the current document to you.
Okay, like via email or mail?
Or email.
Email. Okay. No, I missed. I didn't hear exactly what you said. I just want to know what to look for. So you said email, okay, correct?
Yeah. Would be electronic mail.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the way that process works, I'm going to give you my opinion, and Frank, you correct me if I'm wrong, or what we think is. So Frank is going to take a run at editing this and arranging it. He's going to have reviewers review it and add their critique on it. And the ultimate goal is to get that much better and higher quality. We're then going to have all the WPCA members have an opportunity to review it. We may decide to get professional help to look at it or not. I'm not sure. But eventually, I think what we have to do, and we'll have to do some research on this, is when we're proposing a change in the ordinance, then we will put it out for public comment, and then we'll resolve the public comments, and then we'll vote to finalize it as far as the process. Does that sound about right, Frank?
Rich, I think it may need to be approved by town hall, like by town meeting.
We'll have to research that. If that's what has to happen, we'll do that. So, I mean,
Any ordinance will have to go through.
so Mary Jo Nozel, you might have some experience since you're a select person. We're allowed to have select persons say stuff in this meeting. Go ahead.
Yes, typically there'll be a hearing where the public will be able to come in and listen to the suggested revisions to the ordinance, and then there will be a town meeting to approve the ordinance. But certainly the town attorney can give us specific steps.
Okay. So we're not there yet, but we'll work on that out of the meeting and research what we have to do in the process steps. That's, I think, handles the sewer ordinance update. Are there any questions related to this from WPCA members? Okay. So now we're moving on to item 4A II, the benefit assessment items update. So what we've got is the consultant that we hired contacted Jennifer to put together the septic tank information on the properties. There is a little bit of difficulty doing this because their researcher can't go to our records and go into the town hall at the current moment. They are also gathering all the sales data that they use to make their evaluations. So the short story is that they are making progress, but the long story is that it's just a progress report, and there's no questions or issues for us as a WPCA. Are there any questions related to this topic? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to item 4A triple I. This is Clean Water Funds application. I am very happy to and very pleased to once thank the Selectman office, Michelle, and the Selectmen and Woodard and Curran for putting together the massive applications for clean water funds. This is for funds that we have spent in the past for the wastewater plan and the EIE to recover funds, as well as the application for the design scope. These applications are like over 160 pages long, and there's a number of sections that you have to sign, and the town clerk had to certify things, and you had to do duplicate items. So they were finalized and signed, and they have to be printed out and wet signatured and then sent to the state. The state did acknowledge that they received them, and the next process is the state will review them, and there's an administrator person at the Department of Environmental and Energy Protection. Once he reviews it, he will send it to the state treasurer, and I guess after they review it, hopefully they accept everything, although they might have questions. Those questions might trigger us to do some different clarifications. For instance, they might ask us for minutes of approving certain motions, which they've done in the past. But in the end, we submit all that, and we should be able to get the sizable amount of money that they promised to us to go back into the town's general fund. So I'm very happy that we've got this done. It's a weight off my shoulders, as well as we probably, if we didn't tackle this and spend the time on it, the state was not going to give us the money. So they don't look out for us that way. It's not that they're bad. It's just like, if you don't submit the application and all the things that they need, you don't get the money. So are there any questions from the WPCA members about the Clean Water Funds application? Okay. Let me check my notes to make sure I've got everything. Now there's a section on this application that I wanted to bring up that's related to funding. It's the Clean Water Funds application and how it applies, but it's also what I discussed with Doug about. Well, the idea is that we might have to readjust our budget in the future to pay for the agreements to join the cost sharing agreement. And while we're still negotiating that amount, we've been asked to, well, we've notified the Board of Finance that we want to make this arrangement of paying from carryovers in the past, which are budget items for certain things, to pay for this entrance fee. I don't want to go into the detail about the amount of the entrance fee or the thing, because that is still being negotiated. But I do want, maybe Doug, if you can explain a little bit about the going back and forth, and then I'd like to mention a thing how we're going to probably present to the Board of Finance, any questions that they might have.
Yeah. So I looked back at our budget and the carryovers, and we have an ample amount of money to pay what we expect the bill to be from the private beach associations. There was a debate, and I understand why, about using carryover money for items that it was not designed for. For example, trying to use testing money that we have in the carryover, pay a legal expense. That I've been informed is not something that they do, not something that they should do. So I went back again and I looked at the budget and I looked at the invoices that the private beach associations have, and our share of it, and our share of the line items. And I've concluded that between the carryover amounts we have, the expense 100% of the expense from the private beach association buy-in is either legal or consulting. And after looking at their invoices, we have ample money in our legal line items, both carryover and current budget, and in our consulting budget, both both carryover and current budget, to satisfy our share of buy-in. So I think I hope when we meet with the Board of Finance, we can put that behind us. And then it's a matter of finalizing what the number is, and then applying the funds that we've been carrying forward, as well as some of our current budget. I will say that there won't be a lot of legal money left in this year's budget, but we only have 2 months left to go, May and June. And if we are prudent in what we do with our lawyers, we should be able to handle it. And this is a culmination of us pushing the money forward and asking for the carryovers for like 3 years now. We've been carrying money from one year to the next. And knowing that we would have these legal expenses and the consulting expenses at some point, and now they're here. So I think we're okay with the budget from that point of view, and having enough funds to cover what we will need to do.
Okay, thanks, Doug. I just want to add that amount, if we apply for it, we'll be applying for the Clean Water Funds for any kind of money we can get out of that. Some of it we believe is applicable, and some of it is not. And the only way to really find out is actually to submit the application. So there's other things that are very clear that they're applicable, but when you get into legal expenses, that's when it gets murky, and legal expenses sometimes are not applicable. So are there any questions about that part? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is correspondence. We got one correspondence. Let me pull it up just to make sure. One correspondence from a resident, April 27th. It was Michael Callie asking about the average cost of a sewered property in the future, and asked if the cost is going to increase from the discussion from last summer. And I responded back to him that the average cost and the method that were chosen has not yet changed, although we are reviewing it. And there was a number of people that were very upset that large properties are going to be charged over $100,000. And so the idea that feedback from the public was considered, as well as WPCA members felt we could do a better job, and we are evaluating alternative ways. And one of the methods is to cap the upper limit of the sewer assessment, which would increase the average cost for the average house nominally, and responded back to him on that. Are there any questions from the WPCA members on the correspondence? Okay, hearing none. So at this point, I would like to explain the next agenda item, executive session, and what comes after that. For all those people listening, if you joined in a little bit later, we do not have a public comment section in the agenda tonight. We did not have one in the last meeting. We hope to have one in the future meetings. The purpose of not having the public comment section is we're just establishing this way of doing this meeting. And it's a little chaotic, to tell you the truth, to try to handle public comments, but we plan to try to do that in the future. We technically don't require to have public comments, and we definitely allow for people to give public comments. And for now, you can send an email in through the town's website. There's my email, the chairman, and there's Jennifer Datum, the clerk. I can say we definitely listen to the public comment and consider public comments. So if you have an issue, a question, or a suggestion, feel free. We can't always do exactly what the public wants. We're doing what's best for the town. So the executive session that we go into is for the purpose of negotiating the Private Beach Association's cost sharing agreement. This cost sharing agreement, we believe, will save us a lot of money, possibly millions of dollars with a S. And in this executive session, we're going to discuss some of the variables that involved in this. We're not allowed to vote in the executive session. So when we come out of the executive session, we might bring up new business to make a motion to vote to accept the agreement. I don't know how long we'll be in the executive session. This time we're doing it a little bit differently, and our clerk is going to stay online and keep this line open and this conference call open. The WPCA members will exit and call in another number, and then they will, when we finish the executive session, we'll come back. And I guess that's what I wanted to say. And I'll lend the microphone over to Frank Chan if he has any additional comments that I may have forgot before we go.
Rich, it's Frank, and now I think we can go into executive session now.
Okay. Are there any questions from WPCA members before I ask for a motion? Okay. So can I have a motion to go to executive session? Excuse me, coughed.
So moved.
So I need a motion to go into executive session.
I motion to go into executive session.
Okay. Can I have a second?
And I'll second the motion.
Open discussion. I have to go through roll call here to everyone to get a majority. So when I call your name, if you could say aye, that you go into executive session, that you want to do it. So Doug,
Aye.
James Burge,
Aye.
Joe Carpentito,
Aye.
Frank Chan,
Aye.
Rob McCarthy, Steve Tsunami.
Aye.
Okay. The majority's ayes have it. So we're going to go into executive session. Please, if you'd like, stay on the line if you're from the public. Hopefully we won't be that long. We'll come back and we'll go from there. All right. So for now, the WPCA members, please dial into the other number. Thank you.
Unmute. Mary Jo, are you gonna stay on this meeting?
No.
Okay.
If you are the meeting host, enter your PIN followed by a pound. Enter an incorrect access code or PIN.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Rich. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm
Okay.
here.
So we're back from executive session. Let's just kind of do a roll call to make sure everyone got back. I see Doug. I see Joe. James's camera
See
is
Steve?
loading. Steve is Rob McCarthy. So is Frank back?
Frank Chen's coming back in.
Okay, thank you, Frank. I think that's it. That's everybody on the WPCA members. So Jennifer, just for your reference, the motion to come back from executive session was made by Steve and seconded by Doug. And all in favor to exit the executive session to come back to this meeting.
Okay.
At this point in the agenda, we're in the section 7 of new business. And part of our executive session, we had a discussion about the agreements to join the cost sharing agreement. And at this time, I will call and ask for a motion to, well, in my words, but it doesn't have to be exactly my words, a motion to allow the WPCA then current chairman or vice chairman to sign this agreement to join the cost sharing agreement on the condition that the selectman's office also agree to sign this document. So if I could have a motion similar to that, I'd appreciate it.
I move that we authorize the chairman or vice chairman to sign the cost sharing agreement once the first selectman has agreed to sign it.
I'm just going to clarify if I heard it's the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement. Was that correct?
That's correct. The agreement to join the cost sharing agreement.
Okay. So we're going to do a roll call.
I'll
See
second
how.
that.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean to second it? Yes. Thank you. Who's that?
Second, Joe?
No, Steve.
Steve.
Steve seconded. So we had a motion, we had a second, now we have an open discussion. Does anyone have a question, concern, or comment they want to make about this agreement to join the cost sharing agreement on the condition that the selectman's office also agree to this and sign it?
Do you think it may be a good idea to say that we authorize our chairman, vice chair to sign if the selectman's office signs unedited?
Could you elaborate a little bit about the last unedited part?
If the
I think I know what you mean, but I'm not sure.
If the selectman decides to change it and then signs it, we are authorizing you to sign it without the whole committee seeing it in its final form.
So
I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid that scenario. So if the first one,
so what do you want? I think I know what you're saying, Steve. So what do you want?
Well, as long as maybe we say as long as the first selectman signs this contract as presented. Meaning basically, if there are any changes to it, we should be able to review it before everyone signs on it. You're signing for us.
Well, I can promise you that you're going to review it before it gets signed. And Frank can answer what his view on that. So I'm the chairman. And the intention is, at least my intention is, if there's minor edits like, grammar or something like that, and, then I'll share it with you. And if someone has an objection, I want to hear about it. So I'm going to be quiet. Frank, what is your intention?
Yeah, if there are no changes that change the cost sharing agreement, the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement, in a material way, then I think we can sign it without further review. I mean,
That's a great way of putting it. Should we put there that you're authorized to sign it as long as there are no material changes to the contract?
I personally, this is Rich Pendergast, I don't know if we need to do that, but if you guys feel more comfortable doing that, then Doug would have to amend his motion to add that on it. So open discussion, you'd have to ask Doug to do that, someone. And Doug would have to agree to it.
You don't have to ask me. I'll agree to amend it to those terms.
Thank you, Doug.
Any other questions, discussions, comments? I'm hearing none, and I think maybe it's wise to go over the motion as amended one more time. Doug, do you want to take a crack at that? Or do you want Jennifer to?
Yeah, I will take a crack at it, and then Jennifer can correct me. I made a motion that we authorize the chairman or vice chairman sign the agreement to join the cost sharing agreement as long as the selectman's office agreed to sign the agreement, the unedited agreement. What I do.
Okay, I think you did good. I think you did great. All right. So I'm going to call for a vote now. So Joe, can you vote yes if you accept this motion?
I vote yes.
Doug, can you vote?
Yes.
James?
I vote yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rob? Are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I am. Yes.
Okay. I think I got everybody. So
Frank,
Frank. Oh, Frank. I didn't get Frank. Frank.
Okay, can I vote?
Yes, you can
on
vote.
this? Okay, I vote yes.
Okay. So the unanimous motion carries. So approved. Are there any other new business items? We're on that agenda item still. Hearing none, I'm going to go for the last item agenda. And before I do that, I'd like to thank the public for listening in. If you have questions, concerns, comments, again, you can send an email to through the town website on the WPCA page. There's an email for myself, Rich Pendergast, the chairman. There's also a website email address for Jennifer Datum. I will do my best to respond to emails in a timely manner. Jennifer does as well. I believe Jennifer works part-time for the WPCA and works in other departments, so she can't respond instantly. We plan the next meeting, if we have to do it virtually, we're going to have a section for comments, public comments. I felt it was too difficult while we learn this technology and do these remote things this time. I'm sorry if that upsets you. It wasn't trying to stop anyone's comments. We do listen to public comments and we do adjust because we are trying to do what's best for the town. With that spiel, I will switch to adjournment. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Seconded.
Jim Burge, I second the motion.
Okay, excellent. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. I'm pretty sure the motion carried. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful night and stay safe.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you, Jennifer.
you're welcome. Good night.
Good night, everybody.